To become a thought leader, you need to create ideas, thoughts, and insights and share them with other people. It follows if you have the insights and you don't share them with other people, how is anyone going to know about your expertise? So to earn money from what you know, you need to create and share what you know. This might be social media, it might be content marketing, but it may also be in paid products like books or in your presentations. Well, this is good general advice. To be successful, you need to be more specific. Inside a strategy to become a thought leader is to create content pillars. In this video, we'll share what is a content pillar, why you need them, and some examples of how you can create your own. I'm Jeff McDonald, and I help business experts and thought leaders earn money from what they know. In our earlier video, How to Become a Thought Leader, we shared 3 general things that everyone needs to build. You need to create ideas, you need to share ideas, and you need to sell your ideas. In this video, we'll focus on the specifics of how to do this by drilling in how to create content pillars. Why do you need content pillars? One of the big challenges for all content creators is knowing what content to create. By defining your content pillars in advance, you're effectively creating a map of the things that you're going to talk about, write about, speak about. Essentially, having content pillars provides 3 levels of focus and clarity. The first one is for you, what to write content about. The second one is for your audience, so they can start to understand, Jeff's an expert in that. I go to him for this type of problem, this type of solution. And the third one is around search engines. They're going to be indexing and crawling our websites, so we want to set up our content in a way that they can find it easily. What are pillars? I'm pleased to say that all my years of architectural training come to the fore because I can use the analogy of pillars or columns in architecture to talk about content pillars. A pillar is essentially a vertical support within a building. In a Greek temple, we classically have the plinth or the platform on the bottom, and we have the pillars or the columns holding up the triangular frieze at the top. When applied to a person, a pillar is often spoken about as a pillar of strength, or someone being the pillar of a community, meaning they're well regarded, well respected, and they provide value for that community. This is a perfect description of a thought leader because we want to be seen as a pillar of strength around a particular ideal, a brand ideal or an idea or a problem or solution. What are content pillars? A content pillar is generally described as the key topic or the core topics that we talk about, we write about, we present about. For example, if you look at my recent videos, you'll see that I've done quite a few things on content, content creation, and thought leadership. How to become a thought leader. They're 2 of my core pillars. And this video actually puts both of them together. It's about content pillars and how to become a thought leader. Content pillars may also be known as content topics, content categories, content buckets, topic clusters, or a pillar page. And a pillar page has a specific meaning in SEO. Essentially, it means you create one page which has your major piece of content on it, and you create a lot of little other pieces of content that are all pointing to that one page. In terms of becoming a thought leader, I think the simple definition of a content pillar is that it's a topic cluster, the thing you talk about. And then within this overarching topic, you're going to have your special sauce or your unique way of doing things. For instance, when I talk about content creation, I'm nearly always talking about manifestos. That's my special sauce. Brand pillars versus content pillars. For thought leaders, it's crucial that you're aware of the difference and the overlap between a brand pillar and a content pillar. Traditionally, a brand pillar is the core or the signature elements of your brand. These are usually the brand experience or the touch points that you create for your clients and customers. And they typically include things like colors and fonts and style. And personality. Brand personality is a big one too. For most businesses who produce physical goods like a jeweler, there's not a lot of overlap between the brand and the content because it's not a content heavy business, it's more of a product business. But for a thought leader, this is very different because a thought leader is their brand And also their ideas are crucial to their brand. So there's a really strong overlap between your brand pillars and content pillars for thought leaders. And I talk more about brand ideals in the video Thought Leadership Content Marketing. 2 types of content pillars. Generally for thought leaders there are 2 types of content pillars. The first and obvious one is the topic cluster that we mentioned before. These are the things you talk and write about. And coming up, I'll share my 6-part strategy for how to create your content pillars. The second type of content pillars are the way you deliver your content. So typically when you're thinking about this, most people go, oh, it's about social media or content marketing. But for thought leaders, it also extends to how you're actually presenting your services. So for example, if I'm presenting a keynote presentation, that's going to be on one of my content pillars. So some of the delivery styles for content pillars can include live presentations or conferences, recorded video presentations like this one, live group coaching sessions, training sessions, writing blog posts, creating social media content, providing audio content as part of the podcast, or creating information products like books. How to create content pillars. I think there are 2 basic ways to create your content pillars, and it depends on your viewpoint about marketing. The first one is around using a customer persona or avatar, and this is a really popular way to define your marketing. Essentially, you're describing your ideal customer and then creating your content to fit that audience. While it's really helpful to know who your audience is, I think there's a serious limit to this approach. The second way to do that, which is a little bit different, is to focus on customer jobs or jobs to be done. So instead of focusing on a single person, you're focusing more on the challenge or the problem or the solution that people are looking for. A great example of this is the Swedish furniture manufacturer IKEA. So IKEA have customers that range from young adults moving out of home for the first time, possibly students, middle-aged couples, and elderly couples. But from a customer jobs perspective, it's a really nice way to just have one focus. So IKEA's focus is to help people furnish their homes simply, quickly, cheaply, and with a little bit of style. In my view, that's a better marketing strategy for thought leaders because you want your brand to actually focus on the challenges people have rather than narrowly on a topic or an audience. A simple content pillar strategy. A really simple way to create your content pillars is simply to say, here's my topic area and here's the 3, 4, 5, 6 or 7 things I talk about. So a website designer might talk about website strategy, website design, website construction, and website maintenance. That's it. There's their content pillars in 4 simple topics. A content pillar strategy for thought leaders. When I work with my clients around this, I have 6-step process. So it's a little bit more involved than just picking a couple of random topics, but it is a little bit more thorough and provides some consistency around the message. So I'll share the 6 steps and then I'll showcase an example using them in a moment. The first step is the topic. We need to start with and define what we're talking about. Secondly, we need to look at the current situation. So what's the problem the client or the customer is experiencing? Then we want to look at the future scenario. So if that problem was solved, what would life be like for that client? Number 4 is the usual solution. So there's a typical way that most people approach the problem. But as a thought leader, the key is that you've got a slight twist on this. So that's number 5. What's your way of solving this problem? And number 6 are the details, the rules, the principles, the strategies, the steps that you suggest your clients take to go from the problem to the solution. So that's the 6 basic steps in principle. Now let's look at them as an example. This is something that I've been working on that I may publish into a small book in the near future. The overarching topic is around doing great work and managing life and work. The current situation that a lot of people are experiencing is that they're stressed and overwhelmed from being on call 24/7 with their work. They're finding it hard to switch off. And the solution or the scenario that they'd like to have, you might think the opposite of being stressed is calm, and that's one approach. But I actually think it's about freedom. I think it's about having choice about how you work, when you work, where you work, who you work with, and so forth. The usual way people talk about this is around work-life balance. So they're trying to get work and life in some sort of balance. But I think that's flawed because it suits people in jobs that have specific hours, but it doesn't really work for elite performers who love what they do. So my solution is to look at the principles behind work freedom. What would that look like? How could I be free around the choices and the autonomy I have around my work and my life? And as a result, step 6, I have 6 rules for work freedom. If you want more on work freedom, check out the video, Work Freedom, the True Work-Life Balance. How many content pillars should you have? This is probably the most asked question around this topic. And the tricky part is there's no right answer. The way I tend to think about it is that you have one overarching topic or your one temple that you're building. And then inside of that, you have a series of pillars. If I use my 6-part strategy, that kind of gives us 6 pillars to start with. But it's also like a chef. Even though you've got the ingredients of the 6 pillars laid out in front of you, you're not necessarily using them all in the same quantity. You might have more flour and less salt. Or in this case, you might focus less on the problem and you might focus more on your 7 rules. For instance, if you look at the right-hand pillar and where it gets to your rules, you're going to have a lot more depth of content around that than you are around some of the other pillars that you've got in your model. Ideally, to answer this question of how many you should have, I think you're looking at anywhere from 3 to 7. Any more than that, you start to dilute your brand, and any less than that, and you kind of don't have enough room to talk about different things. Now for a quick summary of what we've covered around content pillars. To be a thought leader, you want to be seen as a pillar of strength around your area of expertise. Your content pillars provide clarity and focus about what content to create and share. Your content pillars are the topics or themes you talk about in your area of expertise. For thought leaders, there is a really strong overlap between your brand pillars and your content pillars because the ideas you present are part of your branding. There are 2 types of content pillars. The first and obvious one is the topics or themes that you talk about, and the second is the way you deliver them. To create your content pillars, you can either focus on the customer persona and the individual customer, or you can focus on the customer jobs that you provide a solution to. Ideally, you want a handful of pillars, 3, 5, 7. Too many dilutes your brand, too few doesn't give you choice. If you want more details around this, check out the blog link in the description for this video. And if you want some coaching around your content creation, head over to jeffmcdonald.com. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.